At a special event called Motor Magic in North Dakota, they have a drag race featuring the world's fastest Hemi-powered Dodge Stratus and the world's most famous and oldest wheel stander, and snowmobiles that actually drag race on the asphalt, and complete quick 16 coverage for Motor Magic at the Dakota Flat Track in Minot, North Dakota, next on IDR. This week Inside Drag Racing moves north all the way up to North Dakota to a special event they call Motor Magic, a 3-day extravaganza of every kind of motorsport imaginable, including 8-mile drag racing, of course. It's on a place they call the Dakota Flat Track, one of the most gorgeous little 8-mile drag strips you'll find west of the Mississippi. Hello again, everyone. I'm Ted Jones, your host on Inside Drag Racing. We're going to bring you some very unusual drag racing you'll see over the next 30 minutes here on IDR. First of all, we'll meet the man who drives this very unusual car. Ladies and gentlemen, a 2001 Dodge Stratus that is all fiberglass. And believe me, it's all Mopar. Take a look right up here, what he has underneath the fiberglass front end. She's a new Mopar Performance Parts Hemi with 2 Barry Grant Demon carburetors standing tall, loud and proud on a Ray Barton tunnel ram intake manifold. Now, the more unusual thing about this car is not the car itself, it's the man that drives it. Bill Burke is one of the main promoters and driving forces behind Motor Magic and the Dakota Flat Track. Why a Dodge Stratus?
Well, the Dodge dealer in Minot here has always helped us with our car program, and we wanted to have a car that was on their showroom, and the Stratus is probably the only 2-door car built right now, so we built a Stratus in our shop this winter.
Where did you get an all fiberglass Stratus body?
Well, we bought a Glass Tech body, and then we modified it. My crew chief, Chad Wilburn, and I cut the body and made a Stratus out of it, and then we mounted it on a Tim McCanis Pro Mod frame.
Tim McCanis Pro Mod frame. So this thing is pretty cool, but the nicest part is she's all Mopar, big Hemi up there, huh?
Yes, we got a 588 Hemi in it. Should make about 1,200 horse. We just put a tunnel ram on it, Ray Barton type tunnel ram, and we're spraying 300 horse nitrous through it.
Wow, whose nitrous system?
Nitrous Works, Barry Grant and Richard O'Malley's been helping us. Nitrous on Hemis is not a proven deal, and we've been working really good, and we haven't had any trouble all year with the new system we're using.
All right, now, all that horsepower goes into what transmission?
A 2-speed Power Glide built by some friends of mine in Bismarck, Bell transmission. They're doing a lot of transmissions in the cars here. They probably got 50 transmissions on the ground here today.
All right, but now wait a minute, a Power Glide, that's not a 727.
Yeah, I know, but you can't be a purist all the way.
So the Glide works better?
It does really work good. We looked at our Brunos and some of that other stuff, but we're having a good success with what we got right now.
How quick has the car been in the 8th mile here?
We just ran a 545 at a 502, and it's a little windy out there. It probably should do a little better, but with the wind and stuff, that's probably where we want to be.
Now let's talk about this drag strip. This is a phenomenal project. How often do you run the track?
Well, we do 6 to 8 shows a year, depending on like special events and whatever. Our regular program is 6 shows, and then like this is a special event.
Now, my understanding is that the group of you operate this track more for just fun and the sake of the sport than you do for trying to make a profit.
Right. I mean, all our track workers are volunteers. 14 of us put up the money to build the track, and then it's a little unique. We're on the state fairgrounds, so when we got the track built, we donated it back to the Fair Foundation so that there'll be a drag strip in North Dakota forever, because it's now state-owned, and we have a management contract to run it and a board of directors, so as the time changes, different people could be on the board of directors, and the track can run, you know, forever as far as we're concerned.
Now let's find out a little bit more about Motor Magic and what all is happening this weekend besides drag racing. Well, first of all, they have an enduro race where, by the way, the other half of the race, they run around the track the wrong way. They'll have Supercross racing for 3 days up here, many different classes. The modifieds will then hit the dirt oval track, as will the sprint cars going the right way. They have go-kart racing, I mean really fast ones with a lot of action. A mud bog event for the four-wheel drive guys, a garden tractor pull also, and finally a demolition derby, plus a car show and, well, much, much more. Inside Drag Racing is brought to you by Summit Racing Equipment, 30 years of low prices and expert advice, and by ARP, manufacturers of aerospace quality fasteners. Still to come on Inside Drag Racing, we'll meet a man who does it with a blower. And speaking of blowers, Bill Maverick Golden is here this weekend. And would you believe some unusual racing like you've never seen before? Snowmobile on the 8 Mile Drag Strip. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Inside Drag Racing, coming to you this week from the Dakota Flat Track in Minot, North Dakota. Well, I'm in the pit area of a very unusual entry. You heard just a little bit earlier Bill Burke talk about his automatic transmission being built by Bell. Well, we decided we'd catch up with the people from Bell Transmissions, and here's their test bed, their car. Believe it or not, it's a 1975 Nova, not really one of the more popular cars for drag racing, but of all things, of course, you can bet that it has a Bell Turbo-Hydromatic 400 specially prepared transmission, a big block blown Chevrolet engine, and the car is all steel. We wondered, what's up with that?
It started out as a 15-second bracket car that my sister used to drive to high school, and developed some sentimental value from there about 10 years ago, and it's progressed to what it is today.
Decided to keep it in the family, and exactly what is it today? Let's talk ETs in the 8.
The 8th mile, the best that we've been able to run with it, and on a good track is around the 502, 141 to 143 miles an hour. Depends how hard we get after the motor, but it is a street car, and it's started out where we did a back half to it first, and it's the first car we ever built, so it was a learning tool. Did the front half with the struts, started with an iron big block Chevy, went to an aluminum Aries motor. It's been kind of our experimental test bed for the business, for trannies, and for our motor building skills, and I guess some people like it. It's a little different than most guys' cars, so.
Why the blower? Are we at altitude up here?
It's actually not that bad. We're in the mid 15 to 2000 in the Midwest, depends where we race at. But at the time we built the blower motor, there's a lot of carbureted gasoline and nitrous cars, and we wanted to be different.
Well, it is different indeed. I bet it gets a lot of attention, huh?
It does. It really does. Being it's odd, it's a 75 Nova hatchback. I mean, it missed the muscle car era. It's not aerodynamic by any stretch of the imagination. It's just what we had laying around to start with. And I sentimental value more than anything else, and people really get a kick out of it because of, hey, my kid drives a 75 Nova back home to school, whatever. So it's very interesting.
You can see pretty well it's typically a state-of-the-art bracket racing car. The trans brake button is right there beside the shifter. Back over here, the air bottle is for a throttle stop. I asked John, hey, where's the delay box, crossover delay box? He said, no. No electronics. I want to do it myself. If I win, I did it, not some guy with genius electronics. Not a bad idea. Here's another guy that doesn't like the electronics either. Big Daddy Don Garlitz brings us this week's pick.
Don Garlitz shares with us his pick of the week. High-performance machines that Big Daddy considers outstanding. Brought to you by Flowmaster, the exhaust technology company.
Ted, I found a beautiful 1948 Anglia here at the car show, and the body looks almost stock, but I bet it didn't always look this good.
Well, I bought this little car in 1965, and the boys were going to make a drag piece out of it, and they ran out of money. Of course, back in '65, money was as scarce as it is now to make a drag car, but that was during the years of the gasser wars, and that was very popular then. So they split up, and I approached them one day, and they wanted $200 for this little car. And I said, I don't have $200. I got $145. And he says, well, I guess that'll do. So I took it home quick.
That was a good investment.
Oh, it was so original that I hated to pass it up, and so I've left it very original, just the way it is, and it's sort of a sleeper looker, but I didn't want to tub it out or anything, and I kept a nice back seat so my granddaughter can take a ride with me.
I noticed it's got the original seats in the front that fold over so you can get in the back. It's a two-door sedan, but you even left kind of the pattern of the upholstery the same.
Yes, we still use the original seats. We put new foam in them and rebuilt them, and they fit the car so nicely, and they sit so nice that the new foam and the roll and pleated pattern match the old to a T. So it just works fine for me.
Tell us a little bit about the engine and the powertrain.
Well, the engine is a 4.3 Chevy, a truck motor, and it's got the good rods and good crank, and we just fabricated a 371 blower onto it, and it's bone stock, and I'm getting 25 miles to the gallon with it.
You know what Ed didn't mention was when he bought this car, he put it in a barn. It was stored for 20 years while he put his children through college. Then he got it out and fixed it like you see it now. And we're so happy about that because most of these cars were destroyed during the gas awards. Very few survive in this pristine condition so that we, the public, could enjoy what this little car really looked like. And that's why this is my pick of the week. I'm Big Daddy Don Garlits for Inside Drag Racing.
All right, thank you very much, Big Daddy. Still to come on IDR, snowmobiles on asphalt on a regular basis. And we'll meet Bill Maverick Golden, still going strong. Welcome back to Inside Drag Racing. You know, we told you something unusual that they race. Snowmobiles, that's a way of life up here in North Dakota. They get a lot of snow, and people actually ride these things for transportation. They race them, they do all sorts of things with them, but leave it up to anybody with a big engine. You find a drag strip, they actually have a special asphalt track that they use on these for 8th mile drag racing here at the Dakota Flat Track. We caught up with the owner and driver of this particular Nordic Cat to find out more about this unusual form of drag racing.
There's a track setup which we use. It's a slick track with a asphalt suspension that has 39 wheels on it, and the skis have 2 wheels per ski.
As opposed to a normal setup for snow or ice, you'd have how many wheels?
On snow there'd be like 8 wheels, and on asphalt there's 39.
Okay, now when you run this in an 8th mile, what kind of ETs and speeds are you achieving?
We're running about mid 6 second to low 6 seconds. Anywhere from 6.2 to 6.6, anywhere from 100 to 110 miles an hour.
That's pretty incredible on the back of this. I mean, you have no shoulder harness, no roll bar, roll cage, nothing.
Well, we have some footrest that we're able to keep ourselves from sliding off the back.
Yeah, I bet. When you leave, they leave pretty hard?
Oh, yes. There's a lot of G-force on there.
So you really need the footrest to stay on it?
Yes. Yes, I do.
How? Do you ever get 60-foot time?
Yes. My 60-foot today is 1.5, 1.4.
Yeah, they do live pretty hard then. Let's talk a little bit about the power. It's a 3-cylinder engine.
Yes, it's an 800cc Arctic Cat motor, which is powered by Suzuki, and it's putting out about 200 horse, 210 horse.
And what is the weight of this sled?
The weight of this sled is 420 pounds.
That's the whole sled, engine and everything?
That's right.
Now, they normally weigh more than that, right?
They normally weigh about 620 pounds to 650 pounds.
But you've lightened it up?
Yes. It's actually a pro stock sled.
And you enjoy drag racing them on asphalt?
Oh, yes. It's a lot of fun.
And then in the wintertime, you change it over and do a little ice racing?
Yes. We put the ice drag setup on it, and we're able to hook up a little harder there on ice, and we run low 6s to high 5s.
So it's quicker on ice than it is asphalt?
Yes, it is.
Here's another Artie Cat, got a custom paint job up on the front nose piece right there. It's basically stock as opposed to the Pro Stock version. By the way, we asked Kevin a little bit later, had he ever fallen off of this? He said, oh yeah, it's real easy when you launch real hard and the front end comes up to actually be thrown off the back of it as it comes over right on top of you. I asked him, I said, did you get hurt? Did it bother you? Do anything different? He said, well, you learn to respect them. I'll bet you do indeed. We'll be back with more here at the Motor Magic event in North Dakota after we have Butch McCall's Quarter Mile Quiz.
The ARP Quarter Mile Quiz with Butch McCall offers you a chance to win a Quarter Mile Quiz sweatshirt while testing your knowledge of drag racing. Brought to you by ARP, manufacturer of aerospace quality fasteners.
Well, hi everybody. Welcome to this week's ARP Quarter Mile Quiz. You know, I know you've probably heard the expression drop cylinder used on some of the coverages of drag racing here on ESPN2. Well, that's this week's question on the ARP Quarter Mile Quiz. It was sent in by John Toto of Denver, Colorado. His exact question, what causes a drop cylinder? We'll be right back. Well, John, what causes a drop cylinder? Well, it can be several things. Possibly a valve sticking open. It could be too rich a fuel mixture, possibly too lean a fuel mixture. But there's usually a lot of things that happen as a result of that also. One, you're probably going to lose the race, but if you don't, it's for sure that you're going to have a lot of parts damage and spend a lot of money on repairs. Thanks for your question. We got an ARP Quarter Mile Quiz sweatshirt on the way to you.
Thank you very much, Butch. I've got a Quarter Mile Quiz for you. If you see a 426 Hemi supercharged in the back of an A100 Dodge midsize pickup truck, what does that mean to you? Can only mean one thing. Probably the most famous midsize pickup in all the world in all drag racing is the Little Red Wagon of Bill Maverick Golden. A guy that, well, we'll find out in just a few minutes when he's going to retire. Probably never. This guy has been racing longer than I've been around it, folks. Let me tell you, the Little Red Wagon is probably one of the best-known wheel standards in all of the world, and he just refuses to quit. Says he's having too much fun.
In 1987, I was running in Byron Dragway in Illinois, and this real attractive lady came up and said, I'd like to have my picture taken with your truck. So I said, okay. Well, we'll run forward to 1998, and I was at the same drag strip, and the same lady came up and said, I'd like to have my picture taken with your Little Red Wagon again. I said, I think I remember you, because a lot of people have their picture taken with the Little Red Wagon. And so we were discussing, you know, the fact that it had been 10 years since she saw the Little Red Wagon. She was a big Little Red Wagon fan, and she said, what would it take to ride in your Little Red Wagon? I said, you'd probably have to marry me first. And so she did. We got married on the starting line at the Mopar Nationals. They shut the whole track down to Marriott's.
And you took her that ride?
Oh, yes, that was her request. She wanted to ride in the Little Red Wagon, and the NHRA official said, Maverick, it's your day. Do what you want to. And I even want to put a helmet on her and said, don't you put a helmet on that pretty girl. So she had her veils out the window. I was going down the track about 100 miles an hour, but we didn't try to scare her any. She's a sweet woman.
Now, how much longer are you going to do this? You know, there are drag racers your age are retired.
Well, Ted, I don't look like it, but I'll be 68 in December. I'm a young man. But, you know, you asked me this, what, about 6 years ago? Well, I've lowered it a little bit. I said 2012 then. Let me back it up to about 28 then. I'm going to, you know, I'm having so much fun I'm in such good health. I think, and the fans don't want me to quit. I thought, you know, 36 and a half years of drag racing with the Little Red Wagon, I thought they'd be tired of it by now. But they go crazy every time they see it run. They said, that's the wildest thing I ever saw. And still people that haven't saw it run.
How many runs will you make a year, Bill?
Oh, gosh. We'll make probably close to 100.
You know, Bill sells a lot of souvenirs to his many fans. Here's the latest one out, just being introduced. This is a Little Red Wagon wheel stander that actually wheel stands. It's battery powered, goes 25 miles per hour for 100 feet on the rear wheels. Can you imagine that? Really cool. The kids are absolutely eating it up. You know, they have one of the original Little Red Wagons down in Ocala, Florida, at Big Daddy Don Garlett's museum. You see it right when you come in the door. Speaking of Big Daddy, time for the performance tip.
The performance tip. Professional tips on the latest performance technology available with Big Daddy Don Garlits. Items featured on the performance tip are available from Summit Racing Equipment. 30 years of low prices and expert advice.
You know, if you're running in a class that requires you run hydraulic lifters, your choices have been very limited up to this point. Hi, I'm Don Garlits, and this is the performance tip of the week from Summit Racing. You know, competition cams have come up with a hydraulic roller that is absolutely unbelievable. You know, if you're going to race, you really want a roller. You can get the best profile from your camshaft with a roller lifter. But if you are required to run a hydraulic roller, up to now you've had a very limited choice. And there's another problem with hydraulics. If your valves float just the least little bit, the hydraulic takes up the slack, and then the valve is left open, and that's what they call valve float or hydraulic pump up. You can't get that pump up on this lifter because the little plunger is up against the stop, the push rod is adjusted to 0 lash, and that's all it's ever going to go. It's never going to pump up beyond that. So these lifters are good to as high as 7,000 RPM. So that's it. If you're running in a class with hydraulic lifters, you need this roller lifter because you will have much better performance. Everyone knows rollers are better than flat tappets. And competition cams have give you the answer how you can have that roller in your hydraulic cam car.
Thank you very much, Big Daddy. We'll take a break, and on the other side, quick 16 finals, a little drag racing time from Motor Magic in Minot. Stay tuned. Back at the Motor Magic event at the Dakota Flat Track at Minot, North Dakota. We're ready to go drag racing on the 8th mile. Quick 16. We've already run off first round. We'll pick him up in the quarterfinals with Bill Burke, our drag racing promoter we met earlier in the show, against Steve Kleeman. Give the starting line advantage right there to Kleeman. He stopped Burke, put a whole shot on him. A 5:27 on a 22 dial-in, 130 mile per hour. Derek Bakken will be our next competitor. He'll be up against Les Feist. Take a look at Feist with the nice leave off the starting line, but it's going to be Bakken all the way, dropping the dragster out of competition. Bakken dialed a 6:20, ran a 27 with an 8. Lucky Buckman will be our next competitor. He'll go up against Jim Fraley. Starting line advantage right there for Lucky Buckman. He'll run hard with the 502 powered Camaro. Dials a 6:22, runs a 21, but a red light by Jim Fraley negates that, so Buckman will be your winner. Jeff Nelson and Pat Conlon with the 67 Camaro also turns on the red light. Jeff Nelson with that nice rear engine digger wins, runs a 75 on a 77. Again, the breakout negated by the red light. Inside Drag Racing is brought to you by Moroso Performance Products, Race Proven, and by Race Gang Communications of Johnson City, Tennessee. Semifinals now in the quick 16. It's Jeff Nelson and Lucky Bachman. Nelson, a tire shop owner with that little rear engine digger. Lucky Bachman with the 67 Camaro 502 crate motor. Nelson's got him 576 with a 5 on a 75 dial-in. And Derek Bakken once again up here from Wego, North Dakota against Steve Kleeman with that rear engine dragster, 468 cubic inch big block of the digger. It'll be the small block of Derek Bakken picking up the win with a 480 reaction time, down to 620, ran a 620. Now inside drag racing next week, believe it or not, is pro modified racing at the U.S. Nationals, Indianapolis Raceway Park at 5:30 p.m. Don't miss it. Finals coming up right now in the quick 16. Jeff Nelson burns out right now. 406 cubic inch dragster against the 1982 Mustang small block 377 stroker of Derek Bakken. It'll be a starting line duel. Bakken a 4:49 reaction time. Jeff Nelson a 5:11. Nelson is in trouble. Down to 5:75. Yeah, runs the number, but look at Bakken. Lordy's down into a 6:19, ran a 6:25. Here are the winners in the other brackets, and our winner.
We got lucky. We put a 430 gear in it to run the 510s tree, and they had this quick series, so we guessed right today.
Yeah, and you were right on the number, huh?
We ran close to the number all day. The car's an excellent car. Bob Hammergren owns the car. He builds a fine engine.
2 nights in a row you've won this thing. What are you going to do with all the money?
I think we're going to make sure that checks go to your road for entry fee.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Be sure and join Bob Fry for a special edition of NHRA Heat coming from the NHRA Museum in Pomona, California tomorrow night at 5:30 right here on ESPN2. Until then, this is Ted Jones. Thanks for watching us. See you next week, everyone, from the U.S. Nationals in Indianapolis, Indiana. Inside Drag Racing is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.